You're listening to the AdCast with your host, Elliott.
Oh my gosh. Roger, what's going on, man?
Hi, thanks for having me, Eric.
Man,
It's a pleasure to be here.
Roger, I'm excited to talk to you today. What you have and the product you have in Frontify, I'm excited about it because this whole conversation about brand has come more alive in the last 10 years. And your solution is one of those things that can actually help people be able to manage their brands better. And then you have proof to be able to show it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully we've made a part that brand became more important.
Yeah, I think, brand's super important, man, especially with the amount of ads and people fighting for attention right now. I think that's one of the most dominant things. Like I told you, we've had some partners of ours where all they know is ads. They don't know anything about brand. So we're going to dig into Frontify today, and I want to tell the audience just a little bit about you. And then I want you to come back in, and for those people that don't know who you are, I want you to tell them exactly who you are, where you are, and then we're going to dive into Frontify. So everybody, I want to welcome you to the AdCast. This is one of the unscripted shows, just hearing about, Roger and everything that his company has going on. I was really excited to be able to do this episode because we're talking about one of my favorite things, brand. We're going to talk about how his company, Frontify, actually is kind of they're ahead of the pack, and they are just a game changer when it comes to being able to manage your brands and your assets and being able to show proof of that. So my guest today is Roger Dudler. Roger proudly led his organization to the forefront of brand management with a robust and holistic cloud-based experience with Frontify. Since Frontify's beginnings in 2013, he's been the driving force behind Frontify's mission and vision, empowering over 2,500 plus brands. That's pretty cool. And you're actually going to make a big impression into the US. And before we get started, I want to tell you congratulations. So when Pete puts this video together, hopefully he can give you a round of applause because you guys actually just received some VC funding, and we'll dive into that too as well, man, Roger. So now that I've talked so much, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and thanks for all the flowers. I think it's it's always good to recap also what we have achieved. I think I'm really happy where we are today. And as you said, I mean, brand is honestly, it's like a deep to my heart topic. And to double down on what you said, it's interesting that still like even a lot of people that you would imagine that they are super familiar with the term of brand and what it stands for. I think there's still a lot of work to do to create awareness for the topic.
I truly think so. Like, we talked about that right before the call, right before we started recording, to talk about like where people are in their brands and even some big brands, and how, what you have in Frontify, you and your team have at Frontify, and how it can help them, So a few things, a couple bullet points I want to kind of dive into. Like Frontify it's not only creative, but it kind of straddles tech a little bit. So you almost get like the best of both worlds there in Frontify. And, since you found this, I would give anything to be a fly on the wall to see like how it was for you back in 2013 when you were starting this out. How did you come up with the idea to say, oh, Frontify? How did you do that? How did that come about, man?
Yeah, it would be nice if it like such a, like just this thing, made in the garage and so on. No, I mean, I'm a tech guy, originally. I would still consider myself quite a tech guy and nerdy person. I still love to dive into code, but I'm not allowed to anymore. Else they have to fix everything afterwards. No, but back in the days, I was working as probably many developers has done their career in web development, and I build software products. And eventually, when doing this, I was also pretty passionate about design. So I was doing lots of UX design, not really as a professional, I would say, but I was doing it a lot for myself.
Right.
And it gave me kind of like this unfair advantage of understanding both kind of mindsets, like the creative mindset and the tech mindset.
Right.
And these different languages that the people talk to each other. And while understanding all of those like different roles and mindsets, also the business world a little bit more, I saw a lot of potential, to bring those people together. When I was working on a project, I got those PDFs with, like designs on it and measurements on it and colors on it and stuff like that. So someone put like a decent amount of work into creating them. And as a coder, you're like, yeah, but damn, I can't really do anything with it, So I need it in a more structured way. And equally, the business people need it in a different way as well. So how can we bring that all together so that we have a platform where you can work as a designer, you can put your stuff on, you can share your thinking, the specifications and everything. As a coder, you can get them out of the platform in a very technical way, in a structured way. But also as a business person, you can make sense of everything from a business perspective. So that was why I came up with like a little tool where you were able to comment stuff and document things. So back in 2012 or so, and back in the days, there was nothing really. InVision was kind of starting off those days. I don't know if you know those folks, but probably you heard of them. So there was a lot of room, I think, to make things better. So that was really triggering me to make a business out of it.
That's the part where you had the unfair advantage, where you knew how you had the coding experience and you knew how the look was supposed to be. Because sometimes that's one of the things that people don't understand, how important like UI, UX is. Like you just talked about that. I want to jump into Frontify because I've looked at the platform and all the videos as much as I could. And it seems like it's designed for business people with a designer's eye.
This is my wish, honestly, like I'm the same person. I love design, from truly, and I'm always the one who is probably not yet fully happy with where we are. I think we still have room to improve in every single area. But I think we're doing great. I mean, we do like great progress. We make the product more user friendly every day. We're investing a lot in our product design teams and UX teams and product managers to make sure we truly build a great product. We're not just like milking the cow, so to say. We're not like saying, okay, now we have a product that people buy, so let's just continue doing that. No, honestly, like because I'm still like, it's deep to my heart what we do in product. We really want to improve it every day.
I saw
never fully happy with it, hopefully.
It's funny you said that. There was actually like on YouTube, there's a recorded Zoom call with you guys. And it was probably like some of your team members. It was like a remote call where you guys, I think she had said, she was like, we got in feedback over 700 plus pieces of feedback. And then you guys use that feedback to be able to make the experience on Frontify better for people. So you truly listen to what people are saying. So it's almost like, I'll never stop. It'll never be complete. It's always going to be evolving. Is that right?
This is the fun part, right? So once we think we're done, we can all go home and do something else. I think this is it's not what we're supposed to do.
Job over.
We should enjoy the journey. Like as long as there are more problems to solve, it's fun. But yes, I think it's kind of, this is probably the most challenging piece when building a product.
Wow.
That once you get successful to some degree and you get customers and you grow, you will get a lot of feedback, right? So you will get a lot of ideas, a lot of requests, a lot of very important things to fix and build and so on. And I think choosing from those, like nowadays, probably it's more towards 1,000 per month. And maybe you can build like, I don't know, 30 or maybe 40 things, really. So it's very difficult to decide what you do and what not. And sometimes it's difficult to understand that we can't do everything.
Yeah.
We would like to, but I think this is...
You have to stay true to what it is.
Yeah, it's a very difficult challenge to then choose the right stuff, where you find a balance between making sure you're doing the right stuff for your existing customers. You follow the trends also, but you also follow your vision, where you want to go next. And you're not afraid to invest, into future stuff
Mhm.
while keeping up, what you should do for your existing customers, which is a very, very important piece, obviously. But I think
Yeah.
this has always been tricky, and it's always tricky.
You bring up a great point, and you know what that reminds me of? It's you brought up another company, a CRM, which is totally different from yours, HubSpot.
Mhm.
It sounds like the conversations that I've had with HubSpot, where it's like, we're going to always improve that experience for people. And you mentioned earlier about success, and I congratulated you guys in the beginning of the call for receiving that funding. And the cool thing about it is from an all-female VC, which I thought was really cool. And to tell the viewers and the listeners about it, you don't receive that kind of funding when people don't believe in your product. And you don't, this is serious business here, so let's dive into, okay, how should it be used? How should Frontify be used? And then who's it for? Let's go into that.
Mhm. So I think what everyone maybe is used to is like having, let's say, a digital asset management system where you have all your images and stuff,
Mhm.
or like a CMS system where you kind of find like a website where you find, certain guidelines and stuff.
Right.
So you can say that we kind of do the same thing, but just on steroids, kind of, and bring
Yeah.
it all together. But I think what's way more important is why we're doing it, because I think we see things a bit differently than others. So what we
Mhm.
try to really talk with customers about is, you know, it's great that you built this amazing brand. We work with lots of famous and
Yeah.
big brands.
Mhm.
So they've done like a tremendous job in building up an amazing brand, right? But this is only one part of the story. So if you really want to get successful with a brand on the long run, what you truly need is the people's buy-in on the brand. So our belief is that the true magic happens with the people behind the brand. So if you
Mhm.
truly understand, you're not doing it for the sake of
Mhm.
having a certain number of assets in the database, or have a certain guidelines here and there. What you really need to keep in mind is what do our people need to work and be on brand and to actually enjoy it. So we see ourselves like being successful when we can really create a mindset where they want to really bring the brand to every single person in the company
Mm.
and everyone that works with them. It's not something that stays in like in a dark
Like a
place
like
where
a like
only
a
like
Dropbox folder or
yeah,
something.
like 20 people have access to it, and like it's very hard to get someone else into it and so on. No, give it to the people, empower them and enable them in the smartest and nicest and most seamless possible way. Be where they work, like we shouldn't be like, brand shouldn't be something that you have to, like this. You should be proud of it. You should be proud because you know what the whole thing stands for,
Yeah.
why you're actually standing up in the morning
Mhm.
to do work for that brand. And I think this is such a much, much bigger goal to achieve. And yes, you need certain tools. You need a digital asset management system. You
Mhm.
need a brand portal. You need templates. You need all these things. They are essential. And I think we're doing that in a very, very user-friendly and powerful way. But the mindset and the cultural shift that you're triggering with bringing in Frontify is a different story, I think.
With that's interesting because now, pretty much since COVID, but some companies have always been virtual, but so this can kind of help you if you have, using the United States as an example, if I have someone in New York or if I have someone in Los Angeles, they may be remote, but being able to just having a digital asset management system like Frontify, I can ensure that not only the logos, the guidelines, the best uses, best practices, documents, so that does this help remote people be able to do things better?
Yeah, I think you asked before, I mean, how the ideal setup is for the customers. I think this is exactly where we excel. When you are like people are remote, when you have lots of locations, when
Mhm.
ideally you have even multiple brands, you have like different markets even. And then things get complex. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that without the help actually of a brand team or a marketing team, people are enabled to create stuff. And they don't have to be afraid that they, go off brand or something. So things like templates are really helpful in that sense. If you say like, oh, I have an on-brand social post and I have a template, I can just change the text, change the image, but I cannot destroy it. I cannot really go off brand, but I can do it on my own.
Right.
So empowering the people to do these things and still stay connected and have a flow of assets and guidance that is central is very important. So
Yes.
I think for lots of our customers, it's important that they have brand.something.com and everyone knows I just go there and I have everything I need around brand. I can learn about the brand, I can get onboarded on the brand, can learn about the values and the vision, the beliefs. I can get ideas for campaigns. I do know how a certain touch point should look like, how a booth should look like, how printed material looks like, stationery and stuff like that, if you still need it. But you can learn about all these things and you get it in a very simple and user-friendly way. So I think this is really what we aim for, that it's not a pain for the people to stay on brand. So they have to go to, because it's such a pain to use the DAM, they go to Google and they Google for the logo and they get the first one.
They Google, they're Googling for a transparent image.
This is what happens, right? And then people are so proud of, hey, I have this storage of things and it's so beautiful, it's all nicely done, but no one uses it. Then you can stop doing it.
We'll be right back with more of the AdCast after a word from our sponsor.
So working with the craft crew from the get-go was very easy. Dealing with Eric right on the front end, I think it was Thanksgiving Day and he was emailing with me. Not that I expected him to return my emails. That's just the kind of service from the get-go that drew me to this company and ultimately led me to selecting this company. And then dealing with Terry and some of the other guys who were very professional. They walked me through the process of what this video production procedure would be like. It was very helpful and very comforting knowing that I would be taken care of and guided through this process. And then when the film crew got here, they were on time, they were sharp, they knew what they were doing, everything was set up efficiently, and I'm impressed.
So now, you and I, we said this word brand probably 20, 30 times since we've been talking. So let's talk about, like, for those, hopefully there's going to be some people, some large advertisers or even some medium advertisers out there. What is brand?
Yeah, there's probably a multitude of definitions of it, but for me, it's really all about what the people out there, how they perceive you and how they talk about you. And it's kind of manifests itself in all the different touch points. And having a consistent experience and that is not confusing for the customers is key, right? So it's probably it's kind of a collective thought around your values, your beliefs, what you stand for, and so on, and you try to transport that out to the world in a very consistent way so it sticks. So use marketing techniques to make sure all these core elements stick with the customer, so you make their buying decision easier. So every time they see your brand, whether you're now I think there's this famous example on Nike, if Nike would create a hotel.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, it's a good one, I think. If Nike is about to create a hotel, we understand what it could feel like. And feel in a sense of, we know maybe how the material would be, we maybe know how the people would welcome us, we may know how what kind of emotions it triggers in us.
Mhm.
And this and equally, if you take a hotel brand that is famous, I don't know, maybe Hilton or so, or
Yep,
Marriott, I don't
Hilton.
know. So if they do shoes, it's probably a harder guess, right? What they would feel like.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's difficult to describe.
'Cause
But
it seems like it's so many things though,
yeah,
and sometimes the brand it's not what you see, it's how you feel
yeah,
sometimes, it's that feeling like, I love Apple. I made sure our entire company had everything Apple, and they're one of the great
me
ones
too.
when it comes to branding, but when you get an Apple product, there's a certain feeling that you get and the packaging and everything else, and then when you have that feeling, now here comes that experience, right? There's an experience and there's a feeling. But if me, who's not a Windows person, nothing against Windows at all, but if I got that, I don't have an experience with that. I'm not, I don't have any beliefs in that brand like the way I do Apple.
I mean, they are masters in what they're doing. It's probably the reason why they're one of the best brands in the world.
Mhm.
But I think there is another interesting take on Apple, um, especially when they started to really allow like retailers to sell their products.
Yep.
At least it's something that I noticed when, obviously, the whole Apple experience goes end to end, right?
Yeah.
And so when you go into an Apple store, obviously that's kind of the perfect representation of how the experience should be
Yep.
to buy the Apple product. But then also they sell in different places, right? In Switzerland, for example, they sell at the large retailer, and in there they kind of have to build up their own like furniture and their own kind of closed area to really.
Yeah.
It's not like the standard stuff, like that's Apple. So that's why you're required to present the products in a proper setting,
Wow.
so we can kind of continue that experience, even though it's part of maybe a crappy electronic retailer.
Mhm.
But there, this beautiful little spot there, that's kind of like that's Apple, because
Mm.
once I gave a talk in London, and I read this book about more like the psychology and like the brain and how it processes and why this is all the case. It's
Mhm.
very interesting because once you break this consistency, you make it way harder for the brain to really make that instant decision on like that instant
Wow.
buying decision. So if I see an Apple product just as part of a normal, next to all the other products,
Mhm.
it may be like, wait a second, that's kind of not like I have something else like in mind for Apple. This doesn't feel right here.
Yeah.
So what we do and what our brain does is like we go from this like very like intuitive decision which happens in like super short amount of time to a
Mhm.
place where we start to compare, where we start
Wow.
to think, well, not sure anymore if that's just like right,
Mhm.
because it's always right. But I then start to look at details. I start to compare the power, the performance of the pieces. I start to compare prices. I start to compare the packaging and other stuff. So then I'm not anymore in that like quick decision mode. And
Mhm.
that's what you want to get people into with doing brand and marketing. And so
How
that's why it's important to keep the experience over all touch points, because every time you break on one touch point, people start to think, something's
Yeah.
wrong here.
Do you think they start to question the brand when
Yes,
you break off the experience?
because you kind of like you have an idea and you have an experience for that brand, and for you it's this. So if
Mhm.
it is this experience, then I know what I get. So I just
Mhm.
buy. I don't care. It's
Right.
gonna deliver me the quality I want. It's fine. It's easy for us. It's easy for the brain to make that quick decision.
Right.
So we don't want those long decision cycles actually.
Let's just say, hopefully I can manifest something. Let's just say if Apple was a client. I'm just gonna do this hypothetically, right? If Apple was a client, how could Apple use Frontify to make sure that everything they do, everything they say, their look, their feel, and everything remains on brand. How could they utilize it?
Yeah, so first of all, they will make sure that they go away from whatever they have currently as a brand portal. So they will start rethinking what they actually want to communicate in their brand portal. So how can they make it like a nice experience for everyone in the company, so that they all know, I go there, I find everything I need, and I find it in a fast and smart and fun way. So in there they will find all of their guidelines, but in an easy to consume way, not just a PDF here and the PDF there that I have to, like
Recreate every time.
Yeah. So
where it can be
it's all like
inconsistencies.
as you would expect it today, actually. And then also you will find all the assets at the same place. So you'll find imagery and everything that you need. You find designs, you find templates, you set them up in there so that you understand, okay, my marketing teams, they need these kind of assets. So we produce them often. So it makes sense to create a template. I roll that out to all the offices and make sure everyone has them.
Wow.
And so I just slowly try to engage more and more people throughout the organization. You may start with one location or one team or one brand. We all know Apple has multitude of brands. So they may start with one brand. Maybe they start with a smaller one first. So to kind of educate the people about how it works. And then they work with features like the newsletter that we have in the product. So you make sure that you constantly keep people in the loop. So you make sure brand is top of mind for everyone. And once you've done that, you make sure that people come back. They always like, oh, there's a new icon set. Okay, I can use that. So they start installing the desktop app, for example, where everyone has all the assets in their system. They use it in presentation, they use it in Keynote, they use it in wherever they need them. So you remove the barriers. So you make it more simple for the people to actually use what's there.
Right.
And then once you've done that and every material is available, you start monitoring. So you start understanding, what are people looking for? What do they not find? We tell you they're looking for that stuff, but it's not there. So you should provide it to them. Or, you get an idea of which countries are actually engaged. I understand, well, I expect, Germany to engage more with the brand than they do right now. So maybe we should figure out what's wrong. Maybe we should give them more guidance, or I understand from the users and the groups that are using the platform, the sales teams, not so much using all the assets that are here.
Wow.
Maybe certain white papers and stuff. So maybe I should focus on them and talk to them and understand, how can we support them better? So it's really, as you can see, it's more, the first obvious step is making the material available, but changing the game and saying, like, we're here to support you. We want to understand how you are using the brand and what you need. So we want to give that guidance to you and not say like,
here it is. Just use that.
Like, you idiots, you are not on brand or something like that. Like, this is then obviously we made most of the time then we made a mistake because we didn't make it easy enough for them to be on brand.
So, the one thing people get confused about when they hear brand is they think, oh, it's just my logo. Just make sure the logo is positioned in a certain way, Have you ever come
across that? Right? It's a good style.
Where people would say, oh, that's my logo. My logo is my brand, but that it's a whole lot more than that. So basically, like with Frontify, going back to it, like, and we just talked about like how someone like Apple would be able to use it. So the analytics part is what really amazes me. So like you said, you would find out information like on how Germany is being able to use it. And you can say, hey guys, we have these brand assets. Is there some difficulty with understanding? And it kind of leads to some opportunities there. Do you have like a success story where someone actually used Frontify and just said like, wow, this is a game changer for our company?
Well, actually, there's a lot of those stories, but it would be sad if there weren't any. No, I think we have actually a lot of customers. One to name, one that I really love and admire is Bosch. Huge manufacturing company, 400,000 employees. And I think what we truly are supporting them, and obviously it's a lot on credit goes to them because they have to do the actual work, and we're like here as a facilitator. But I think what they really managed is that they can grow, the acceptance and the engagement to a way broader audience since they introduced our product. Not only because of the product itself, but again, like also because of the different mindset. What you want to achieve. And I think also in their case, it's, a simple example is an icon library. It's something so obvious. We have a separate product or a separate kind of part in the product to set up icon libraries because we believe they need to be served slightly different than, let's say, image libraries or video libraries.
Right.
Because they are like, you can have a vector version, you can have different formats, you may want to get them in the different brand colors or in negative versions, and you want to use them especially in like PowerPoint presentations and stuff like that. So we really created a part that makes this easy because all of our customers need it, right? And so in there, it's very clear what you get out of it when everyone just has this icon library available, right? In their desktop, in their taskbar.
Right.
You just go in there and take it, done. And if they search in there, you will also, what they did in the past is they just go to Google again, they search for an icon for, I don't know, hospital or something. and then they find something which eventually looks similar, but it doesn't.
Right. Now you can have that consistency.
And maybe if you're too slow, they still do that. But at least at least you can see, okay, that's where we failed because we didn't provide something here, or that's an opportunity to provide this to them. And then you can announce it in a newsletter so people will see, oh, well, they're actually, they are listening. They're like, they want to make our lives easier. So that's really cool. So I think using those analytics elements, especially in bigger contexts, is essential. All of our customers love this piece,
right?
Because it's critical to their success.
Well, where do you see it going? I mean, there's so many things that are just like affecting tech, like branding and creative lately. There's so much technology, things like Canva and all these other things. Like, where do you see branding going in the future? Where is it going to be in the future? And then how does that have a place for Frontify?
Yeah, I think there's really like a lot of confusion, I think, in the market right now because of all these like new streams. I mean, just taking like creators in general, like how does that play into the game? How can you make sure that actually have these you build communities and people create on top of your brand, and you want to make sure that they still kind of keep the essence, and so that's very difficult. So you actually want that, but you still want to keep somewhat of a guidance and control over it. So that's a difficult thing. Then also, I think when talking about more hyped topics like the metaverse, it's not clear yet, like a multitude of formats that you need to maintain, and where should you focus? Should you just experiment, or where should you go? I think that's a very interesting area where people should just start exploring, which brings them more into 3D, which is like something that many haven't really touched on yet.
Oh my gosh!
I'm a true believer in authentic brands. So I think that's for me probably the biggest movement. And we can only create authentic brands if we make the people, our best brand ambassadors, because else, like if we make them part truly. So you will see way more companies maybe shifting their purpose from here to there, and then probably struggling because they have like a lot of employees who are still like following that purpose, and they think they can just change the purpose and then everything's fine. But eventually that leads to maybe changing who is working for this company, So I think there's a lot of challenge around building truly authentic brands. And I believe when you look at what's happening on TikTok and all like social, this idea of raw content, being real, being authentic, for me is very important, and brands should really start thinking about, because that will come like a wave, like
Yeah.
let's say a younger generation is not anymore accepting when a brand is fake. Like they will instantly
Gosh.
detect, if you say I'm this, but I'm something else in the inside, it will not work. So there's a lot of challenges ahead, I believe.
It's funny you said. I just wrote a blog on that, on how the younger generation is going to change the way people search. So now, especially with, you talk about, the TikToks and the authentic content. I mean, I think now is probably a better time than any to make sure you got your brand in order with all these different platforms, right? For
And
example,
simplify maybe also, because it gets
good point.
it's very hard, because the more channels you have, probably you should go more simple with the brand
No,
to
no,
keep
that's
the
that's a
message.
great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point, because people, they behave differently in different platforms, and for example, something that you and I may post on TikTok is not what we're going to post on LinkedIn, right?
I don't post on TikTok yet, but I want to start. Do you? Do you?
I do.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
My daughter actually got me into TikTok because she said, she's like, you don't know what you're doing and you can't get 2,000 followers on TikTok. And I got that in like 4 days.
Oh, okay. Now
Yeah.
she's impressed, I assume.
She's impressed, and now I got it. I have no idea what to do with it. So, I need to do better with TikTok.
I love TikTok. I'm a TikTok addict, which always like people laugh at me in the company always, like this, like what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
But I love it.
But, going back to what we were talking about, like TikTok it's grown really fast because of its authenticity, and I definitely think, around the COVID time, people had more time on their hands. Like I told one advertiser, the best time to send direct mail was during COVID because everyone was at home.
Yeah, that's true.
So like now, I mean, do you find it like where people are using Frontify now, especially with the different social platforms, they're using it to make sure that they either simplify or keep things in order? Like, this is how we do Facebook, guys, or this is how we do LinkedIn for brands.
Yeah, this is something that everyone does, like, keeping guidelines, but finding a way. I think the trend goes more into a direction where you create systems, like you create a design system, you create a brand system, so-called, like you try to give guidance, but not like as strict. So you more like, you make it a bit more diluted maybe, but you describe what kind of the goal is of it and so on. So that's kind of the problem, that people need to understand it really, so that they can really represent the brand. It's not anymore just,
Good point.
you cannot write this word, but you should write this word. I mean, yes, that's important as well, but I think people truly need to understand what that brand stands for and how it should feel. Only then they can create great content. And I think a platform like ours helps to just give guidance, give examples, like be a place where they can get help, and understand how it is different to post on TikTok than it is on LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, on LinkedIn, we do that stuff, but on TikTok, we do more of this. Is the focus more on employer branding? But, I think that's, you need to describe those things somewhere.
No, I think it's important. And the reason I ask is because sometimes that's the first interaction that people will have with a brand is through social. It's the only like 2-line communication back and forth. You put out, if you tweet something really bad about a restaurant, they'll respond to you in the tweet, versus giving them a phone call, because now people are just, they're going right at the brand now. So I think now is a better time than any to make sure you got your brand house in order,
I think it's easier to create the connections because, like, it's maybe people want to be fans of stuff. But equally, it's also hard because they want to do this, so they look very closely what you do, because they need to find kind of their home base. So you need to be very careful.
Who is Frontify perfect for?
Perfect. Probably I would say companies who have the ambition that they really want to, nail the brand game. But obviously this comes down to our ideal customer is actually a bigger one who has a strong brand with multiple, like a global company. The more employees, the more value you get.
Yep.
You have maybe a whole house of brands. Maybe you have 20 brands or 100 brands or 1,000 brands. So these are the scenarios that we really, really good at.
Yep.
But I mean, obviously you can also start with you're only 100 people and you have one brand. It's possible as well.
Right.
Sure, we also have plans that are even smaller, but I think that's kind of like if the complexity grows, the more value you get out of the platform. But I think what you really need to be able to is you shouldn't think that brand is just like I'm just creating an asset bank and I'm done. Or,
Right.
I create a nice booking website and I'm done. I
Glad
mean,
you
you
said
can
that.
do that, but honestly, like if you really want to get value and you want to get better, we encourage you to go on a journey. So we say like, look, in an ideal world, you want to have everyone in the company really being on brand, right? So let's figure out how you can get there. So you may start here, and then next year you go there, and the year after you start to encourage this group. And so we really help you and guide you in how you can get there, because we know it from so many customers that you can't do it from one day to another. It's not possible. So you need to know that when you launch, you will get a lot of attention. So lots of people will check it out and they're excited, and then it drops.
It's a new thing.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's
and then
cool.
it drops, and then the real work starts, because then you need to start truly understanding. Okay, cool. So these are the people now who truly use it. Okay, and then we continue. Who do we want to go first? Like these people. Okay, and then the journey of growth and engagement starts. And so I think this is something you need to keep in mind as a mindset. And then you understood what it's really about. And then I think we're a great partner.
Wow. So when someone joins on with Frontify, do they get like a kind of someone on behalf of your company, like works with them, like let's just say a brand ambassador who's telling them how to utilize the platform or best cases to be able to utilize the platform?
I'm not sure if I understood the question. Can you
So like
frame it again?
whenever, let's just say if you get a new brand that comes on, is there
Mhm.
someone assigned to them to tell them how to get the most use out of the
Yes.
platform?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Now I got
So
it.
they're not going at it alone whenever they come
No,
on.
I think that's actually something that we're really proud of. I think our customer success team, we call it. So you get like a person dedicated to your account, and so you go through an onboarding. So you learn about all the pieces. So you get access actually to learn from similar customers.
Yep.
So we kind of know your situation. So because all situations are slightly individual.
Yep.
But then we know, oh, there's these like 5 other customers similar size, went
Yes.
through similar things.
Got some
So this is
historical
what they
data.
did, like, so we encourage you to say like, okay, maybe you should think about doing this first, or, like focus on this, maybe start with the guidelines and, make the
Got it.
portal ready first and then do this next. And so we help you understand the numbers, but also like how you can go to market with the solution. And we keep you obviously, because we have we give you the promise that you get to more people with our solution. So we also keep you obviously posted on what's going on and how you can get more people on board.
Now, so you guys are going to actually make a big focus coming into the US. So, I mean, tell us about that, and and how is the US such a viable market for you, and what would you like to see in coming into the US more?
Yeah, so I think we're established in the US already as a vendor. We have plenty of customers in the US, big ones, very successfully implemented. But we're still a small team, like 30, 40 people. So we're still like growing extremely fast compared to the EMEA market also. And so we barely touched on the potential of the market. There's a lot of awareness that we need to create from, especially in the US. I think people are more used to let's say, more classic vendors on just digital asset management and stuff like that.
Yep.
I think we're still like starting off, like building our brand truly,
Mhm.
and selling this idea of brand engagement, that this is what really matters. And we're still in the beginning, but we're seeing great results, amazing customers on board already, and we'll double down on that. So for us, the US is, I mean, it is the biggest software market, and it's also, I would say, a market where people understand brand well. Like
True. I would say that.
I mean, yes, some of the biggest and most popular brands in the world are US-based companies. So I think we can also learn. We're originated from Switzerland, so we have to learn anyway a lot. So we used to go into different markets because just doing Switzerland is a bit too little. Would be sad, but no, I mean, it's the same problem all around the world, honestly. Like the problem is not different. The solution is not, it doesn't need a different solution, but it takes time until you create awareness and everyone knows about you and knows that there is something out there that actually can really help me change the game.
When you actually make that huge splash, I want you to remember us little people over here, okay?
Yeah, the little people, come on.
Remember us little people here.
You nailed brand as well. I mean, I think AdCast, amazing brand. Well
Thank
done.
you, man. I absolutely love what you're doing. I'm so impressed, and I want to see if I can actually pull up what our designer actually said about Frontify when we sent it over to him. Let me see if I can find it in my Slack channel. I've never done this before live, but I want to read it to you.
Hopefully it's nice.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It's nice. I want to read to you word for word. Let's see if I can pull it up here. His name is Maximilian. So when we saw it, and I sent it over, we sent it over to him, and he replied. He said, "Wow, that is so cool. It looks like it can do even more than blank. That's awesome. I watched the video too. It's so well done." So kudos.
Thank you very much.
I'm awesome.
I'm happy about that. Maybe we should send a gift over. Huh?
Yeah, or a membership subscription, anything like that. We'll take it.
Let's talk about that. I really love those feedbacks, honestly. Like we have a Slack channel internally which is called Feedback.
Yeah.
And in there, our customer success people, they kind of post in there like quotes of what customers wrote to them or said to them about us. And this is one of my favorite channels. I always love when there's nothing new. Obviously, there's also negative feedback sometimes that you
but
that's valuable as well.
If you love the cheers, you got to take the booze too.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think just from seeing and researching and watching you guys, and it really is true on what you said. Like, you guys really do look for all the feedback to be able to make sure that you are making a better product. And
we cannot always deliver on everything, but
well, there's no such thing as a perfect product. Nothing.
Yeah. And again, I think this is really what drives us. I think I would never have expected that after now I think next year I'm doing this for 10 years.
Wow. Congratulations, man.
Thank you very much. But it's honestly, like, every day I'm so excited about this problem.
Yeah.
And there's so much more we want to do. And there's so many more brands out there that I love that are not yet customers of ours. So there's so much more to do. And I think I just said last week on our offsite, where we had the whole company, like nearly 300 people in Switzerland. I said to them, like, it's really, this is just a foundation that we just built.
Wow.
I mean, it's a great foundation and people love it and it's amazing, but now we can do the fun stuff, like the more fun stuff. Even there's so much more we can build on top of that. That is creating true emotions, and that is like really close to the people in those organizations, and knowing that you can have a tiny little impact on a brand out there that you truly admire. It's really cool.
You actually just took the last question out of my mouth. I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you, how does it feel? Because I know sometimes, like my wife, she would say, did you ever think that you'd be doing what you do now when you started? And I said, the truth is I never focused on the now. I just kept doing it. So when you look at it now, what kind of feeling do you get seeing what you have not only created, but the team that you work with and the problems you help solve? Because you think about it, in that room, wherever you are right now, or wherever your offices are, you have a solution that can help the world.
Yeah, that sounds big.
It is. But you have a
No,
solution
honestly, I don't know. It's again, like last week, this is always like the moments when you reflect on what actually happened. It's very hard to grasp. I think if I maybe speak to most founders who have gone through such a journey, it's not always easy, to process what happened.
That's right.
I think going to that amount of people in such a short amount of time is really crazy. But when I then see all the people here and the culture we were able to build, I'm super proud of the team that we were able to keep it up. Like in the beginning, you were always afraid. Can you keep up the spirit? Can you keep it like fun? And can you keep it like such a safe place and so on? And this is like I don't feel that there is any single person that I wouldn't, love go for a beer with or something, like, or when I walk into the office, I see people like walking in and being happy, and I think they give me the feeling of enjoying what they do every day.
Wow.
And I think this truly motivates me, besides the fact that we just did that exercise on everyone's favorite brands, and they were up on screens.
So cool.
And so then you look at it and you say like, look at this. I mean, we will never be done, like we can just continue forever. That's so cool. And we will always be like,
that's the fun part.
And you said it right. I think it's about the journey and not about, you're not doing it for the outcome. I never did it for, I'm not a money person. I'm not like, and all that stuff. I know what is necessary, but I think really having the joy on that advancement, like getting the struggle, fixing it, struggling, and getting problems, fixing them, and getting better every day. This is what makes you happy. This is what truly is cool. Once you're done, it's not cool anymore.
Wow, man, Roger, I was not feeling well today. And I think I shared that with you.
Hopefully,
but man, you just pumped me up now.
I'm happy about that.
Let's go design something.
Yeah, let's go design something. Create another brand.
I'm so happy that we actually made some time to talk, man. And Roger, please tell people the website. And if you're on any stages or speaking anywhere soon, let the people know exactly where you will be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably the most important one is for those who are into brand, we will host our first event, which I'm super excited about.
Awesome.
Which will be in Barcelona by the end of September. And we'll have like a very kind of like small group, like a maximum of 200 people there. So it will be very intimate. Great speakers like Brian Collins, Alexandra Tengway from Spotify, like Julia Hoffman from Google. So Michael Olay from RGA. So lots of great people who will really hopefully inspire. So we'll have a great dialogue, lots of brands there, brand managers, CMOs, marketeers. Wow. So if you want to get a spot, head over to paradigms.io. That's the website. That's how the event is called. And there you can apply. So hurry up if you want to join.
That's so awesome, man. I'll make sure we have that website actually in the show links as well, man. Roger, it was great talking to you today. I enjoyed it. And for our viewers and listeners out there, we want to thank them so much for giving us their most valuable asset, which is the time. Can't buy it, regardless of how much money you have. So I want to thank them for that. And if you feel like this podcast has been great and great use for you, and you feel like another entrepreneur needs to hear it and you want to be on the show, go to ericelliott.com. But we thank you again for giving us your most valuable asset, which is your time. This is the AdCast. Hey guys, I'm back. I hope that you enjoyed that episode of the AdCast. If you didn't, go online, give me a review, and tell me how you want us to make it better for you. And if you did, give us a 5-star rating anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. But I want to thank you for your most valuable asset. That's your time, and thank you for listening. Enjoy the AdCast, and stay tuned for another hot episode coming up soon.